Greetings, I'm Sam Aronow, and I'm standing here in front of the rapidly disappearing remains of the old Jaffa Customs House. And I'm here because we're going to take a little journey along the lost route of the original Jaffa end of the very first railway in what is now Israel, the Jaffa-Jerusalem Railway.
Between 1890 and 1892, Jerusalemite nobleman Yosef Navon contracted the creatively named French company La Société du Chemin Fer Ottoman de Jaffa à Jérusalem et Prolongements to build the first railway in Ottoman Palestine, a mostly single-track meter-gauge line from the port city of Jaffa to Jerusalem, high in the Judean mountains. This shortened the travel time between the two cities to 3.5 hours, compared to just 6 hours by horse-drawn carriage. Though the railway initially underperformed, financially and in terms of speed and frequency of service, it was essential for the development of both cities, and especially of Tel Aviv, which was founded right on the rail line just outside Jaffa city limits in 1909. After Palestine fell to the British in 1918, a Decauville light railway was constructed, connecting Jaffa station to the actual city docks. Interestingly, this followed the planned route of an ambitious tram system first proposed way back in the 1880s. But was never built. The Decauville Railway didn't last very long, but its route can be easily traced today, along the quayside, past the St. Nicholas Monastery and the Al-Bar Mosque before turning inland on Tayelet Mifrat Shlomo Street, past the Mahmoudiyya Mosque, then up the Clock Tower Square and onto Raziel Street. And it's here where we find our first sign of the short-lived connector service, a stretch of track with a missing plaque. Raziel Street isn't just historic for its railroad, by the way. This was the beginning of the ancient Jaffa Shechem Road, for a long time the only way north from here. Roman legions marched on this street. As we approach Sderot Yerushalayim, we quickly discover that while the Tel Aviv section of the Jaffa-Jerusalem Railway may be lost, the route it once took through the city hasn't been. This is the Red Line of the Tel Aviv Light Rail, and starting next year, it will follow the same path as the old line for about 1.5 kilometers on its route between Bat Yam and Petach Tikva. Strangely, the new line will actually run in a tunnel under the original right-of-way. I wonder why. The path of the Decauville Railway finally comes to an end at the wonderfully preserved Jaffa Station, and you can really tell just how important this place was. All of these buildings and more were built in service of the rail terminus, and before the foundation of Tel Aviv, the then new Jewish district of Neve Tzedek was built around it. Creeping behind the station complex, I finally discover why the Red Line is running underground. The original trench has been transformed into Park HaMesila, literally track park, serving as a huge path for bikes and pedestrians, with new businesses now popping up to serve them. At the time of recording, it's Passover. Israelis are getting a week off work, and Tel Aviv is taking it easy. However, Passover also means that beer is off the table.
You know, at first I didn't get why, if you have a grade-separated right-of-way, you'd build a tunnel under it because it's so much more expensive to build a tunnel. And then I remembered that I used to live in Jaffa. And on Friday nights, when you want to party and there aren't any buses, because it's still like that, this would be a much easier way to get home. And hypothetically speaking, if I was drunk, I wouldn't want to get run over by a train. So the train's in a tunnel, and I'm up here.
For now, the park ends here, though you can still exit through the famous Teder Grotto. And if you take some back streets, you can see where more of it is being built. Entering the neighborhood of Lev Hayir, literally the heart of the city, future park space becomes City Street. This is the exit for Allenby Station, sure to be one of the busiest on the entire Red Line.
It's weird walking along Harakevet Street like this. When I first moved here, this was all fenced off, and all the time I've lived here, it's been fenced off. This sidewalk was a back alley, really. And you just peer down into the construction, and now it's all done. It's going to be a very different feeling city now. But there's still more to discover, just about a block away, in the past.
As Tel Aviv continued to grow, eventually eclipsing Jaffa in size, a new station was opened at the Tel Aviv Customs House, which is also in the process of being renovated as an additional perk of the Red Line's construction. In 1935, the Beit Hadar office building was constructed next door, and ultimately gave its name to the station. Following the Israeli War of Independence in 1949, Tel Aviv and Jaffa merged into a single city, and the railway was cut back to terminate here. But there's more to this story.
In some older photographs, and in some old maps of Tel Aviv that I've seen, it actually shows a different station being a block further back, right about here. If any of you can explain this for me, who know better, feel free to do so in the comments and I'll pin it.
Here, the red line turns north, and signs of the old railway disappear. Originally, it continued down Harakevet Street before turning south on Highway 2. Not until you reach the very outskirts of South Tel Aviv does the final artifact appear.
Here, at the glorious Tel Aviv South Station, built in a fine brutalist style for the 1970s. Now, I didn't have their phone number, so I can't come in. This is closed, it's a training center now, it's used for some storage. But I was there a year ago, and I took some pictures in case I ever made this video.
With the rapid growth of Tel Aviv in the 1950s and 60s, the at-grade section of the railway leading into Beit Hadar was beginning to interfere with street traffic. So in 1970, a new station was opened at the southern end of the city. Despite its respectable size, Tel Aviv South was never much used. With the closure of passenger service to Beersheba in 1979, only the Jerusalem Railway operated service here, at a time when ridership itself was in a severe decline. Finally, in 1993, South Tel Aviv closed and the Ayalon Railway opened, enabling trains to run through Tel Aviv rather than forcing passengers to travel across the city to make transfers, a fact that will almost certainly become relevant in future videos.